everyone. It's Beth here, and I know it has been a while since I've done videos, but it's like I told you guys on my community tab. I don't have a laptop anymore, it's broken, and we thought that my grandpa would try to fix it, but it's like I said before, he can't. So, and I don't know when I'm gonna get a new one. Maybe on my birthday when it comes up or something. I have no idea, but until then, I'm gonna have to do some skits or reaction videos or anything else on my phone from here and there. Because, you know, everything's been rough for these past few months. But don't worry, guys. I am trying to get back into the swing of things, and I'm trying to find some good ideas for videos. I already have a few things in mind, but I'm just going to be taking it one step at a time, you know? But I finally have a reaction video up. So, now before I explain what this video is, I'm sure you guys remembered a few months back I reacted to the Blue Ink series and the Lovers and the Dreamers series. And I'm sure you know what I'm probably going to react to by the title of this. But what I'm going to react to is called Birth of an Artist, and it tells about how ink sands originally came to be. Some people were actually making videos about ink sands' backstory, but this actually tells how he actually became Ink Sands. And this story will also explain why him and Error Sands fight, and it will also explain how him and Dream Sands met. Now, if some of you have forgotten about what the Blue Ink series and the Lovers and the Dreamers series was about, then you can watch the videos that are on my channel, and it'll help explain everything. But yes, we're reacting to Birth of an Artist, and as always, I will link the original who tells this story in the description below. And without further ado, let's react to this.
Birth of an Artist. Written, illustrated, and narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart.
I'm sure this will be interesting.
Ink lay still. In the world of nothingness he was forced to call a home. His body felt heavy. Moving hurt. He felt hot and exhausted. He couldn't keep this up anymore. How long had he been here? It was impossible to tell. Maybe it wasn't really as long as it felt. After all, Ink remembered it all very clearly, and he wasn't that good at remembering things. With nothing better to do, Ink lay there, reminiscing. Ink. In the beginning, he wasn't even called that. He was just a nameless skeleton, waking up in a place with no objects and no color. The skeleton sat up and looked around. White. That's all there was. No floor, no ceiling, nothing.
Before we continue, this time I actually paused instead of letting it continuing like I always do, but I remember seeing a comic dub about Ink Santa's backstory, and I remember that in the comic it was like the same thing, where there was all blank and it was nothing but white, and he was the only one there. But in the comic dub, I think it said that it used to be his home, but it disappeared or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like I remember hearing that he used to have an AEU, but he doesn't anymore, so he's in the anti-void. I don't know. I feel like that was what it was. If somebody can explain if I'm correct or not, please explain to me in the comments, somebody, and help me out a little bit. I feel like I'm kind of correct, but I'm not sure. But I remember hearing something like that before, you know? And I think, as far as I've heard from Ink Sans in the Blue Ink series, he was just like any other Sans until, this. He was just like the original Sans, but the Sans split into two parts, and that is how him and Error came to be. But I'll explain. I think I'll try to explain after. For now, let's continue watching.
It was just big, empty, and white.
It sucks, though.
At first he had panicked. He didn't know where he was. But then again, he couldn't remember ever being anywhere else.
Well, I think anybody would have panicked if they were in a random place and it was just all nothing and you were the only one there. I think anybody wouldn't remember how, when, or why they're there. You know?
He couldn't really remember anything. He just knew he was a skeleton and that this world wasn't meant to be like this. Even now, after everything that had happened, he still had no idea where he was from or who he truly was. Slowly, the skeleton had gotten to his feet and began to wander, looking for something, anything, to break the white that surrounded him. He didn't know how long he walked, but eventually his legs grew tired. He had to sit.
Now, I know I'm pausing again. Sorry. But I just also like to say that, honestly, it's good that he's actually trying to find something so that all he wouldn't just look around is all just white because he's surrounded by it. Because I know that if you are just in if you're just in an open room where it's just nothing but yourself and it's all plain white, I feel like people will go insane because they're there for so long just staring at the same wall for hours and hours. And I really strongly believe that does suck, because if I was in a room where it's just all but plain white and there's no, there's no color, there's no furniture there, it's just nothing. If I was just in a room that was all like that, and I was just in there for so many hours, I don't know. I feel like I would just go insane, because who wants to stare at a blank wall for many hours at a time? That is just... It's so odd, but it sucks at the same time. I don't think anybody wants to stare at a blank wall for many, many hours. But anyway, sorry.
As he did, he felt something on his back jostled.
Oh?
Ink had reached behind him to see what it was, but nothing could have prepared him for the giant paintbrush he found.
Oh, wow.
Well, at least this world had something in it.
Yeah.
Though how the brush had wet paint in it after all this time was a mystery to him.
Huh.
He had taken a moment to examine his body for any more useful items. He had a sash full of paints, They were probably too small for the brush to use, but oh well.
Oh, I remember that. Sorry again. The stash of paints, what she's talking about, those are his paint bottles, and he used them because it gives him any type of emotion, like happy, sad, angry, disgust, love, fear, all those emotions. And he drinks them. It's his paint bottles that he has around him. That's what she's talking about. Just wanted to explain, but I'm sure some of you already know that by now, so I'll shut up now.
He had a few smaller paintbrushes and pencils, and that was about it.
Oh, cool.
He just had art supplies on him. Well, at least he wouldn't be bored.
Yeah.
His stomach had then growled. He couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten.
Yeah.
He had stood and looked around again, and dread had dawned on him. There was no food here. There was no water. How was he going to survive? He sighed. What a way to go. He was going to die of hunger and thirst, sitting in what looked like a giant piece of paper. This had officially begun to suck.
True.
Figuring he might as well keep himself occupied, he picked up the giant paintbrush. He had begun doodling a hot dog. Then, something he could only describe as a miracle happened.
Oh?
The skeleton watched in amazement as the doodle suddenly came to life. Before him was now an actual hot dog.
Wow.
Real food. He wasn't going to starve after all.
Awesome.
The skeleton sat back down and devoured the thing. It was delicious.
I bet.
You better not be getting crumbs in here.
A voice that sounded like a glitching computer had broken through the silence.
Oh no.
Ink turned and had nearly fallen over at what he saw. It was another skeleton. He was mostly black and looked like he was a glitching computer program.
Sorry.
The paintbrush-wielding skeleton had said.
I take it you know where we are?
The glitching skeleton had stared.
Are you really that big of an idiot?
That's one way to answer.
The paintbrush-wielding skeleton hadn't understood.
Right. Who are you then?
The glitching skeleton had paused, closing his eyes as if thinking. Upon reopening them, he said,
Call me Error. Now leave me alone. I have work to do.
Oh.
Error had extended his hand, and what could only be described as a hole opened. Inside, there had been a rainy city.
Oh.
It was mostly gray, but even such drab colors were welcome after so much time in unending white.
Must be one of the AUs.
Error had stepped into it, and the skeleton had followed, curious. But then what he saw filled him with terror.
Oh no.
Error had shot strings out of his fingers and used them to tear open the sky.
What?
Through the tear, he could see what looked to be cone.
Oh no.
What are you doing?
The skeleton had exclaimed.
Getting rid of it is a mistake. It's all this universe is.
How do you know that?
The skeleton couldn't explain it, but the thought of this had enraged him in a way nothing ever had before. This act went against every fiber in his being.
Stop!
He had ordered before he could think.
Oh.
Error turned and grinned at him.
Oh wow.
The skeleton had taken out his paintbrush and painted a knife.
Oh.
He prayed silently.
Please let this work again.
Oh please.
Lo and behold, it did. The skeleton dashed in front of Error, severing the strings in front of him. The strings fell and disappeared, and the tear in the sky began to form back together.
Yes.
Leave this place. It's not a mistake. You are!
Go, Ink.
Error had stepped back at his words. The skeleton regretted how cruel they had been, but he had to protect this world. Error had finally said before leaving. The skeleton had sighed with relief, especially as the sky began to close up.
Bye-bye, Glitch
He
Abomination.
sat against a building, letting the feeling wash over him. This world was safe. He had protected it.
Yep.
And he knew he'd do so for any world this Error guy threatened. If Error was a force of destruction, he'd be the ink of creation that stood against him.
Huh.
Ink. He liked that name.
It does suit him.
Ink had sighed as the drops hit his face. The world grew quiet, and Ink sat there, enjoying the city around him. He was glad he'd saved it. This world deserved to live.
Yep. I'm liking this so far. I hope you guys are as well.
That had only been the beginning, though. Ink had long since lost count of how many times he'd fought error, how many worlds he had saved,
Oh,
and how many he had failed to save.
that must really suck. And it must have been really stressful for Ink to keep fighting error for so long. I can't even imagine how stressful it is to fight one of your greatest enemies over and over and over again. Like, it's a never ending thing, you know? Like, you can never catch a break, and everybody is expecting you to save them always so quickly. You know? Especially, it's even harder to deal with not saving a bunch of lives as you think you would, you know? Because sometimes not all lives are going to be saved. Sometimes some are just going to disappear. But that's just life. It's how life is. Whether we want to or not, we can't change the world as, no matter how much we try. Now, no more soppy stuff. Let's get back to this.
He was so tired. Every battle lately had made him feel weaker, but he didn't know why.
It's stress. Lots and lots of stress. He's stressed out. And I wouldn't blame him.
And now here he was, without the strength to even move. He doubted he'd last much longer, but he couldn't die. He had to save the other worlds. They deserved to exist. They weren't empty like this place. They weren't lonely. He felt tears fall from his eye sockets. He wanted to save the remaining worlds from error. Then again, heaven had to be better than this place.
I feel bad for Ink having to go through this. Seriously, I mean, he's fighting error a lot, and he's so stressed and so tired. He could barely stand. This really does suck. And Ink, don't cry. This is not your fault. Believe me, I know it sucks. I mean, even the things we're dealing with sucks. I don't blame Ink.
He then heard footsteps approaching.
Oh.
Ink glanced up in front of him, expecting to see error. But instead, a white skeleton, dressed in black and gold, approached him and stopped just in front of him.
It's Dream!
Too weak to keep fighting, Ink could only brace himself. But, much to his surprise, the skeleton simply crouched down and offered him a hand up.
It's okay. I'm a friend.
The newcomer said. Ink hesitated, then accepted the hand. The new skeleton pulled Ink to his feet, but Ink was caught in a wave of dizziness.
Oh, easy there.
The new skeleton leaned Ink against him, putting Ink's arm around his shoulders.
Corfrisk was right. You really don't know anything. You don't even know how to recharge, do you?
I bet not.
Recharge?
Ink asked.
Who's Corfrisk? Better yet, who are you? My name is Dream.
The skeleton smiled.
And I'll explain everything to you once we get you to a safe place.
Yeah.
Ink and Dream were surrounded by warm light. When the light faded, Ink found himself to be near a cabin, surrounded by a beautiful forest and a large stump nearby.
That's his home.
Dream helped him inside and sat him down on a guest bed. Some fresh clothes were laying in the corner of the bed.
There you go. Now you relax. I'll go get you something to eat and drink. Thank you,
Ink said as Dream left.
Dream Sans is so nice. Dream Sans is one of my favorite Sans AU characters. He really is. Not just him, but also Ink as well. I have a lot of some favorites of the Undertale AUs, you know, and there's a lot. There's a lot.
He took the clothes and began to change when he caught his reflection in the room's mirror.
Oh.
Ink stared at his arms and chest. Now that his top was off, he could see multiple tattoo-like scars on his ribs and arms. What in the world could have given him such markings?
I'm actually just as confused. If anybody knows about Ink Sans' tattoos he has all over his body, can somebody explain why he has those tattoo-like scars on his body? Because I know I've seen them as well. I've seen him like that in a lot of comics. But I don't understand how he got them. It's very, very strange to me. I've always wanted to know that. So, somebody in the comments, do you think somebody can explain what his tattoos are? If, please, it would be really nice. Thank you.
Now, even more confused, all Ink could do was stumble into the sky blue outfit Dream had left for him and sit on the bed, waiting. Dream came in with some hot chocolate and some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Ooh.
Here you are. Thank you.
Ink repeated. He took a long sip before continuing.
I don't understand, though. I've been able to eat, so why am I so weak? Like I said, you haven't recharged.
Dream said.
You're the embodiment of creativity. So if people around you aren't being creative, you can't recharge your power. It makes beings like you all weak and feverish.
That explains
He
it.
grinned.
Luckily, I have plenty of art supplies here, so we'll get you back into tip-top shape. Wait.
Ink said.
Back up. I'm what now? Well, now that you're not tied to any world, you get to represent a force in the multiverse. In your case, it's creation. That's why you have a giant paintbrush that can create anything.
Ink said.
I bet you make lots of amazing things with it. Actually, I mostly make things to eat and fight with it.
Ink told him.
Yeah.
So, are you like me? Kind of. I won't go into my story right now, but I represent positive emotions. I can use them to create light arrows and heal people.
Dream told him.
That's cool.
Let's focus on you right now. You're way more exciting than me anyway.
Okay. You know, now I see why Ink Sans told his boyfriend Blue Sans that Dream worships the ground Ink walks on. Because he's complimenting Ink more than he's complimenting himself. You know? It really does explain a lot on how their friendship began, you know? And it's kind of funny. In a nice way. But it's no wonder why Dream is so obsessed of talking always about Ink, you know? That's cute.
I don't know about that.
Ink said.
I have no idea who I am or where I came from. I don't know where I am or how I got here. I've been confused since I first woke up. Which is why I was sent to help you.
Dream put a hand on Ink's shoulder.
It's going to be okay. I promise. I
Aww.
can explain everything.
Ink looked at Dream. He was nothing like Error.
Hmm.
He was kind. A bit excitable, maybe, but kind.
Yeah.
He hadn't realized until just now how lonely he had been.
Aww.
Thank you, Dream.
Dream smiled.
So, which question do I start with?
Aww. I love this song. Well, that was certainly an experience, and we learned a lot on who Ink was. The original story, I mean. And you know what? This was really fun. And honestly, I'm glad I'm getting back into reacting to some stuff. Or at least just getting back. I mean, I guess I've taken a long break from being on YouTube, you know? Because a lot has been happening over the years. But I'm feeling a lot more better. And this is really helping me as well. So, I'm sure you guys liked this video. I know I really did. This was really fun to watch. And I hope that this YouTuber comes back very soon because I hope we get to see more stories, you know? I want to see more Undertale stories from this person. I really had fun listening to these and hearing about your guys' reactions to this, you know? Because it's really fun. I love learning about Ink Sands, Dream Sands, Error, Blueberry, and all of the rest of the Undertale AUs. Because I've been a huge fan of Undertale for a very, very long time. And it will still be my favorite, fandom. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see y'all on the next video. Bye-bye, everyone!